This is an exciting one, and it's not uncommon, but it's not as common as a lot of the other things that we were talking about, and especially in the abundance that we're seeing it right here. Some people will already know this one. It is in the daisy family, and actually daisy is in the common name of this plant.
And it has a white flower, or white petaled flower, yellow center.
Yeah, so it's a daisy. And just to point out, that family's either the largest or the second largest family in the world, probably about 25,000 species. In our country, about 1 out of every 8 or 9 plants is in that family, depending on where you're at. So that's always a great guess, you know, if you're ever on a walk and so what family is that in? Not your best guess, is the Asteraceae family. So this would be under aster on the list there. Aster family. And have a nibble, because it's like got one of the most special tastes, and there's another patch of it right here.
This is one of my favorite salad greens.
Yeah, because it's such a distinctive taste. This is another one very much treasured in Japan. So it's a type of chrysanthemum. So if you want to go ahead and harvest this would be a great addition to our salad.
So what's this called again?
It's a oxide daisy, most likely. It's definitely a daisy, chrysanthemum genus, in the aster family. You can buy seeds for sure. There's lots of cultivated varieties as well that might even have bigger leaves, different types of flowers.
And as we're gathering, especially salad, see how I mowed this one and ended up with a little detritus in here too? So I'm going to remove all of that before I put it in the bag.
Likewise, grass wants to sneak in.
Yes, grass. And luckily, that grass that wants to sneak in is not going to hurt you. It just doesn't.
Yeah, in general, grasses tend to be edible, and there's thousands of those.
Which is awesome.
Maybe not something we can digest very well, but not poisonous.
And maybe we could start talking about this one since we're here, and I think we need to talk about it.
Okay.
Because it's so wonderful. And then we'll move.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard about you framing this one as so wonderful.
It's pretty awesome. So this is a shrub that's demonized by a lot of people. Does anyone know what it is?
Great pollinator.
It is, isn't it? Look, see all those bees on there? Yes, it is autumn olive. It's an Elaeagnus. It's this like really crazy spelling. Is it on your, it's probably on your list. Under,
I think it is.
Under L-E-L.
E-L-A.
So check out the number of flowers on this. And how successfully it's being pollinated.
And they smell good too, so this is definitely like aromatherapy grade.
And what do you think all of these flowers mean? Tons of fruit. And this fruit is really tasty. I really like it. Then in my food preservation classes, I talk about, I make autumn olive hot sauce, autumn olive apple sauce, autumn olive chutney. There's 2 more that for some reason aren't coming to mind, but you get the idea. Like
jam or jelly or something.
Yeah. There's autumn olive barbecue sauce, and then autumn olive jam. So it is an incredibly wonderful plant when used in the kitchen. I really like to make sauces for meats out of it because it's both sweet and tart. It's kind of really lends itself almost to like an instant barbecue sauce type of flavor, which is really helpful when cooking meats. It's also wonderful just sprinkled on salads because it has that sweet tart thing, and there's really nice like texture to the berries. Although the seeds are a little woody. For some reason, I don't know the exact reason why, but it fixes nitrogen into the soil even though it's not a legume. It has this special thing going on like alders do. Do you guys see why it might be called olive? What do you notice about the leaves? The leaves, what about them? The shape, the silver cast to them, it kind of looks olivey. The fruit is not olive-like at all. But I really encourage y'all when you see red or yellow berries with white spots all over them, and those spots, it's really high in lycopene, and supposedly the spots are where that's contained.
The leaves and the flowers that are edible? Or
It's the fruit. It's the fruit. And so what I was indicating is this abundance of flowers means that we will have a lot of fruit. I had a landmate once who was a former engineer who was this incredibly intelligent man, and he did not know that fruit came from flowers. Can you believe that? It's pretty amazing. So I try to always bring that up during classes in kind of a nonchalant way, just so that if anyone is like him and doesn't know about that, you know about it right now. So yeah, I love this plant. It is borderline invasive. It's non-native and can really take over an area. And so I don't really care because I think it's such a great food plant, but it's something to be aware of if you're ever going to plant it anywhere. But I would say go and harvest the fruit where it is planted because it's so useful. And also I see this basket, this willow basket here. This is willow wicker basket, and you can use autumn olive for the same thing. What you do is you coppice it in the winter, you cut it all the way back. And if you cut this all the way back in the winter, do you kill it? No, it's going to come back and it's going to send up all these straight shoots, and those you can use for wicker basketry. Yeah. It fruits in the fall. Mm-hmm. And the berries get a little sweeter after the frost, but the past few years they've been falling before the frost. I don't know why. Anybody else?
Oh, what does the fruit look like?
It's red or yellow with little white dots. In Boone, there's a bunch of yellow ones. I don't know why.
Something else to notice about it, when I teach farmscaping, I say look for the plants that are abuzz, and this is a wonderful pollinator plant.
It's huge. It's awesome. Yeah, people were noticing that earlier. It's like, it's doing really well. Did you have anything else?
You know I do. So I'm definitely going to jump in here real quick, and I'm going to try to keep it concise because there's a lot to cover and there's a lot to say about this. So I'm going to start with botany, and then I'm going to move to ethnobotany, and then we'll move on. So as far as botany, how do you know this is this? The one difference that makes a difference that Natalie was pointing out, but maybe as it's going around you notice, it's very silvery on the other side. But something that's like a bigger pattern to pay attention to and also relates to this name autumn olive is that the petals on the flowers are in fours. And that's fairly uncommon in general across plant families. There's kind of like a couple handfuls of families that have four-petaled flowers. And olives, the quote-unquote true olives in their own family also have that. And then these are aromatic flowers. Hopefully you got to appreciate that. And in general, things in the olive family are going to have aromatic flowers as well. So that's probably another overlap as far as the common name, but can be a little confusing since this is in its own family. Now, just a little bit about ethnobotany phytochemistry. Natalie mentioned lycopene, but I'm not sure how many people, especially the ones with prostates, that like perk them up, but it should. Okay, that's what I'm saying.
Them up, huh?
Yeah, right. I know. Yeah, you gotta watch the word choice. But the point being, is like even Hunt's ketchup and Heinz 57, they're like tomatoes high in lycopene, right? And this is like something that's really good for your prostate. And this is apparently got multitudes more lycopene than tomatoes. And unlike a lot of nutrients that we're going after, apparently it gets activated more through heating, whereas a lot of things are denatured through heating. And so making a ketchup or a barbecue sauce or something like this is like a super good for your prostate thing. And then you've got in these seeds, they are kind of woody seeds, but they're very high in essential fatty acids. So that's why, flaxseed oil and fish oil and borage seed oil are really popular now. So chewing up some of those seeds, even though they are woody, that's going to have some of these good essential fatty acids in there. And so lastly, I guess I'll try to restrict myself to this idea of exotic invasives. And this is something that is a big subject for me, probably eclipsing over 100 hours of my life I've spent researching this and presenting at international conferences about it. It is a problem. And I don't want to understate that, at least from my perspective, being here with you today. There are about 300 of these plants out of the 2,400 that grow here that were introduced and are escaping all over the place. And some of them, especially at our feet, more so than even this one, like this Japanese honeysuckle, covers millions of acres, right? And this is oftentimes going to preclude space for native things to grow. And so I would never plant autumn olive intentionally for that reason, because I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's sort of invasive, but I have seen it in places here locally, and certainly on better soils that are having a higher pH If you go up Interstate 81 into the Shenandoah Valley, it is insanely prolific. And it is going to be, even though you see it good for pollinators, there's lots of native things that are good for pollinators. Lots of native things that fix nitrogen. Not so much a lot of native things with the lycopene, but if you want that, then just go where it is just like covered up in places around Boone, up on the Parkway outside of Hot Springs near the AT. I mean, there's lots of places. Yeah, there's lots of places to go get this without necessarily introducing more of it into the environment, because birds love it, and anything that can be bird distributed can really spread a lot faster than some of these other low-growing plants that are just going to kind of creep along locally in disturbed, open, high-fertility environments like farm fields and gardens. But I guess just to finish up, out of these 300 exotic invasive plants that are running rampant over the land, over 100 of them have use for food or medicine from my research. And one of my big things is, can we employ that use as one means of control, potentially, before we bring out the pesticides and other forms of control? Can we harvest for use, kind of make lemonade from the lemons, as it were, right? Versus like a lot of the ways of controlling this stuff has to do with glyphosate and other intense things.
And if you do want to plant something like autumn olive, there's something called gumi berries that are related to autumn olive, and they're not invasive. And so I definitely recommend those. And the fruits are a little bit bigger. It's not quite as prolific, but it's pretty awesome.
And that brings to mind Useful Plants Nursery, Chuck Marsh over at Earth Haven. He's about the only person I know that has the gumi, but yeah, that's often going to be the case. Is one species might even be invasive, but another species maybe not so much. So these are the little devil in the details that we need to pay attention to be like really good earth stewards and make sure there's room for everybody to grow.
So question, Mark, if you had it on your property, would you try to eradicate it?
I would just harvest all the fruit, probably. You know, I would not like let it just sit there with clusters of fruit on it that birds could eat.
But then you get a lot, even if you're trying
yeah. I'd be a little torn, you know, as far as that goes. Yeah. Whether I would.
On this property, it is a great pollinator.
So
that's a question for us to consider.
Yeah, and you know, another thing is you start seeing babies come up, then pull the babies, you know, type of thing. But there's still, you know, on your neighbor's property and other property. It's one I'm a little bit torn about too. As we've said, there's just so much amazingness to it, but definitely a bit on the fence as far as how much to let it proliferate.
Yeah, and there's different opinions.
Yeah.
I've planted a couple.
Oh yeah, no, there's
a
a big debate. You put something on that like in a Facebook group about plants and you'll see, you know, everything from the spectrum of the native plant people that are just like eradicate at all costs to, you know, permaculture people that are like, look, or even from this perspective of we've got a lot of prostate issues, right? That's one of the biggest problems for old men in our country right now. And this plant maybe is here to help with that. And there's a lot of other plants. Lyme disease is another one. There are a number of exotic invasives that are helpful with Lyme disease. And some folks from even a philosophical standpoint are like, wow, are the plants, and this goes back to the Cherokee too, and a whole origin story around plant medicine. And that when we first, as people started getting afflicted by all these diseases and illnesses, the plants made a pact to come and help us heal and to provide themselves for our healing. So, I mean, it's a slippery slope, but I feel like the due diligence in me, especially since this is being videoed, and I know I've got lots of colleagues on both sides of the fence, I just want to like be clear on where I'm coming from. So, thank you.